At 26 years old, this girl was at the top of her game as a famous cam girl and cosplay model. She was making lots of money, had a nice home, 5 beautiful fur babies, and a seemingly loving and caring fiancé. Everything seemed to be working out well for her, until this happened.
Turned me around and he had his hands around my throat. And my right hand was left open, and I used my left hand. I could feel the knife that he had. It was on the counter. And that's when I picked it up because he wouldn't stop. I thought he was gonna kill me. That's where the stab in his back came from.
She claimed it was an accident, but was it really? This is the case of Melissa Turner, the cute cosplay cam girl who killed her fiancé in a heat of passion. Born on November 25th, 1992, Melissa Rose Turner grew up in North Carolina and Florida, where she had a relatively comfortable upbringing. However, things were not that smooth sailing because, according to her family, she was abused by a relative at a young age and experienced bullying in school. Melissa also struggled with weight loss, which really messed up her self-esteem. By the time she was 18, she said that she weighed over 250 pounds and was going through what she called the darkest time of her life. She completely hated her body and was struggling with depression. It was at that time that she decided she needed to make a change in her life, and she started taking drastic steps in her weight loss journey. Within 2 years, her efforts had paid off, and she had lost about 100 pounds and was looking quite incredible. She was understandably proud of her new body, so much so that she started posting naked pictures of herself anonymously on Tumblr. But then, one night at a party, Melissa met a woman that told her she could actually make money as a cam girl. A cam girl, or a webcam model, is a woman who poses for a webcam, especially as a form of adult entertainment. This entertainment can range from racy to really hardcore stuff. Since Melissa was already confident in her new body, she knew that this was something that she really wanted to try out. So the very next day, she actually went online and streamed her first video. She did this as a part-time job for 3 months, and then she decided to quit her actual job and focus on this full-time. Melissa would later say that she only meant to do it for a short while so she could pay off her debt, but after seeing just how lucrative it was, she decided to stay. Despite the industry being overly competitive, Melissa was able to get a considerable number of followers and even make some good money. But after a while, the money started to dwindle as newer and younger models joined the industry. At this point, she had to think of other ways to make money, and that's when she decided to start making and selling her own adult films, cosplaying different characters. Her films were mostly horror themed, and she would produce them throughout the month of October every year for Halloween. She would then sell the films to her followers, whom she had gotten while working as a cam girl. This proved to be a pretty profitable venture for her, that in 2016 she was doing so well that she decided to open her own studio with her then boyfriend. According to Melissa, cam models often complained about not having a private place to stream their videos, and so her boyfriend saw this as a business opportunity and suggested that they create their own space in their home that they would rent out to the cam girls to do their videos. But however great the business sounded on paper, it did not go quite as well as planned, and within a year, everything fell through.
Then that whole studio thing just turned into me doing all the work, me finding the girls, me doing all the editing, all the setup, all the everything. I did everything, and I'm so goddamn mad because I spent so much time focusing on that, focusing on other people. But I'm so mad that like I spent that time focusing on other shit when I feel like I could have done so much more and be so much more ahead of where I am now if I had put all of that time and effort into me and my shit.
It's not clear whether it's the failed business venture that led to the two breaking up or if it was the other way around. Either way, that was done, and Melissa was back to doing things by herself. But she did not stay single for long because in the summer of 2017, she met someone else and he actually seemed to be the real deal. Sadly, the relationship would end in tragedy. Born and raised in Massachusetts, Matthew Trussler was described as fun-loving and a hardworking guy who would put anyone in a good mood. He was a year younger than Melissa and graduated from Westfield State University before working as a general manager at an Italian restaurant. In 2015, Matthew decided that he needed a change of scenery and relocated to Tampa Bay, Florida, which is also where his brother lived. He got a job in his brother's company installing home insulation and a while later met and fell in love with Melissa. Now, there isn't much information about their relationship, but from some of their social media posts and pictures, you can tell that they were really in love and looking forward to a future together. In 2018, they even bought a 2-story, 4-bedroom house together in Riverview, which they shared with their 5 fur babies. While celebrating his 25th birthday in January 2019, Matthew posted on Facebook saying, "Quarter century later, I've got a mortgage, a pup, 4 fur babies, and a wonderful girl. I'm a happy man. I also realized I'm getting older because instead of sleeping in, my ass woke up at 6:30 without an alarm." But his happiness did not last for long.
What is your emergency?
911. I woke up on my boyfriend. He was outside this morning. He's cold. He was just drinking. He's cold.
The address of the emergency. Hello?
I need paramedic.
On October 18th, 2019, at around 8:45 a.m., Melissa called 911 to report that she had found Matthew cold and unresponsive on the back patio of their home. When officers arrived at the scene, they were met by a gory scene with Matthew's body lying face up on the pool deck with multiple knife wounds on his arms and chest. A distraught Melissa was standing right next to him, covered in dry gore. She told the officers the same thing that she had told the dispatcher, that she had found Matthew like that and she didn't know what happened to him. She claimed that she had tried to perform CPR on him, but he was unresponsive. However, when she was taken to the police station to write down her written statement, Melissa completely changed her story, telling investigators that it was an accident and that she was defending herself from Matthew when he died. According to Melissa, Matthew had been drinking all day and night and woke her up at around 4 a.m. with a knife, threatening to harm himself. The two got in a fight where she tried to grab the knife, but the blade cut her hand.
We ended up struggling back and forth for the knife. I got my hand sliced open.
Things escalated from there, with Matthew allegedly scratching her neck and throwing her across the kitchen counter, and then started choking her. At this point, Melissa said that she thought she was going to die, so she took the knife and started jabbing him in the back. While this story did seem believable, there was something about it that just didn't make sense to investigators. Like, why had she lied to the police earlier? Also, the injury in her hand was not consistent with what she had described. In fact, it looked more like an injury that one would get from a hand sliding down a slippery, bloody knife that was being used. On the other hand, Matthew had a defensive wound on his right forearm, a large wound on his right bicep, small wounds on his shoulders and chest, and a large wound in the middle of his back, consistent with a stab. While looking at surveillance footage in the area, investigators found one footage that captured the chilling moment before Matthew's tragic death. The camera captured the audio of what sounded like Melissa and Matthew fighting in the back patio. And although the audio has never been released, the transcripts were made public. At around 4:31 a.m., a woman's voice is heard saying, "You stay down." A moment later, a noise that sounds like glass breaking is heard. And then the woman says, "So f***ing die." Over the next several minutes, the same woman can be heard saying, "I hate you," and then "get up" a number of times. Smacking sounds can be heard, and maybe a man's voice, though it's not clear what he says. At around 4:44 a.m., the woman's voice yells, "No," and then a minute later, what sounded to investigators like, "What did I do?" While this audio recording would become a crucial piece of evidence in court, Melissa's attorney would question its authenticity, saying that it had been manipulated to make Melissa's voice louder, while Matthew's voice remained inaudible. Whether this is true or not, the prosecution still had another key piece of evidence that disputed Melissa's claim of self-defense. Matthew had been wearing a smartwatch, which also measured his heart rate. The watch showed that his heart had stopped 4 hours before Melissa actually called for help. Why did she take that long if Matthew's death was an accident? The prosecution told the court that not only did Melissa not perform CPR on Matthew, but she actually watched him as he slowly bled to death. Despite the evidence against her, Melissa continued to maintain that she was the victim of domestic abuse and that she only killed Matthew in a heat of passion.
I didn't want to do that to him. The last thing that he wanted, and I knew it because he always tried to hide everything, his drinking, his mental health, and how depressed he was. He tried to hide it from everyone. The last thing that he would want was for the world to know any of it.
She told the court that Matthew had a drinking problem and she would often find empty bottles hidden in the house and see him line up shot glasses and drink them back to back. Some mornings, she claimed that she would find him heaving over a toilet. Matthew drank so much that sometimes he experienced hallucinations of a demon, she said. She claimed that he would often burn his skin with cigarette butts and lighters, and that whenever she asked him about it, he would get upset. Matthew's family denied all these, saying that Melissa was the one with the problem and that she had manipulated Matthew into staying away from his family.
This is not a story of a poor innocent girl. This is a woman who intentionally isolated and manipulated a good kid away from his loving, supportive family.
Matthew's mother, Margaret, said that Melissa's claims of domestic abuse caused her as much pain as her son's death, and that if she was really being abused by her son, she should have come to them as a family for help.
The story that you have contrived has caused me as much pain as his death. You and I both know that Matthew was the best thing that ever happened to you.
The trial went on for a week, and then the jury was given the option of either convicting Melissa of second-degree murder, manslaughter, aggravated battery, or return a not guilty verdict. After 1 day of deliberation, they found the cosplay model guilty of second-degree murder, meaning that she had killed Matthew intentionally, even though it was not premeditated.
This jury did not believe her claims of self-defense, nor does this court.
In March 2022, she was sentenced to 20.5 years in prison. What do you think about this case? Do you believe Melissa's claim that it was self-defense? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section, and if you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more.